Previously on agentpalmer.com, a Robert by any other name might not make this list. Results of search provide a perfect snapshot via Google, and remember, Laura is more than just weddings. This is the Palmer Files, episode 159, with the return of one of my best friends, Christopher J. Hughes. He's back to tackle some of Proust Questionnaire, and aside from explaining what to do when things are 25 pixels to the left, we discuss art, color, the creative process, and much, much more. Are you ready? Let's do the show! Hello and welcome to the Palmer Files. I'm your host, Jason Stershik, also known as Agent Palmer, and on this 159th episode is my friend, Christopher J. Hughes. Chris, like Chris Meyer and Bill Sweeney before him, is back after a very long time, having not appeared on the show since episode 88. But what is this? What has he returned for? This is a series of episodes that is being released over the course of a few months where my friends, specifically those from the friendship episodes, get to come back on the show and ask me a select few questions from the Proust Questionnaire. The first one with Chris Meyer was episode 152. The second one with Bill Sweeney was episode 155. And now here we are. There are 17 questions. Chris Hughes is going third, so he gets to choose from what remains. Chris and Bill only used 3 each respectively, so there's still plenty to choose from. Coming soon will be Jason Zapata, and who knows what happens with the remainder of the questions at this time. A link to the Proust Questionnaire Wikipedia entry is in the show notes if you want a history lesson. I won't spoil which questions Chris asks, but know that we do talk about art, pixel placement, cross-stitch, unfinished projects, pre-vacation, and all of that and much, much more is coming your way shortly. But first, remember that if you want to discuss this episode as you listen or afterwards, you can find all related ways to contact Chris and myself in the show notes. I highly suggest you follow Chris on Twitch at twitch.tv/TriforceDad1984. Don't forget you can see all of my writings and rantings on agentpalmer.com, and of course, email can be sent to thepalmerfiles@gmail.com. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, Chris, it's been a while since we've done this.
I know. I want to say the last time was So We Made a Movie.
That is correct. That is correct. But it's been
when was that? When
over
did we do
2
that?
years. It's been over 2 years since we released that. I don't remember when we recorded that. So
the last time I was on your podcast, you were unmarried and not a dad.
That is correct. Those are two things that you have been witnessed because you were at the wedding and you've met my son.
Yep, I've met your son. I didn't witness you becoming a dad. That would have been awkward for both of us.
Yeah. It was awkward enough that I'm part of the story for your first. And
Thank God for that. Thank God for that Jeep.
And if you want to know more about that, you have to go back to Chris's first appearance.
The friendship episode.
And the friendship episode, correct. Yeah, a lot's happened. And you're on your second job, a new job since then as well.
Yeah, and so if I'm recalling the time that we recorded we talked about the movie, I was on a contract position. I'm now in a full-time position.
Yep.
For the same organization.
Always a good.
It has its pluses and minuses.
Yeah, well, everything has pluses and minuses.
The pluses is benefits.
Yep.
The minuses is points
time management
all around him.
Yeah. And I believe when we recorded So We Made a Movie, you were in this office. But your office has changed at least twice. The chair I mixed that movie in is now behind you instead of beside you.
Yeah. And the bookshelf that was where the chair is now out of frame.
Ah. See,
I don't need to prove to anybody that I read anymore.
You don't? Is that why it was in frame?
No, I'm being a total turd right
now.
now.
But you know what? See, you say that, but you are a guy who redid your entire office based on the premise that at some point everything behind you will be seen on stream.
Yeah. And even like to the point, like, so there's a little area to my right
that I can't
like,
even see. So,
right.
yeah.
But, and so like I started, it went with streaming and everything. I did start using a secondary camera for not only Pokemon card pack openings, which have been really fun to do on stream. I've rekindled the love of that hobby, but also like I want to get back into some physical crafting and some actual drawing again. And so the secondary camera that is off screen.
Can I interject that you want to do some actual drawing for you? Because you may still be one of the few people I know who, on almost any given design project, the first thing you do is physical.
It's a hand sketch.
Yep.
And I think we've talked about this. You and I have definitely talked about this off pod. Yep. But for me, like the creative process starts best by hand and then is refined digitally.
Yeah.
I'm not learning how to write prompts. I'm actually like drawing my stuff and and then it's a cell phone photo and I drop it into Photoshop or Illustrator and then I sketch it out there and I make sure the proportions look right depending on how close I want to get to actual source material if I'm doing like a pop culture mashup. But it starts on paper for me. And interestingly enough, like one of the things I'm working on that I picked up since the last time we did a podcast together is cross stitch, just because I literally found a $3 kit at Walmart and I was like, I think I could do this. And Lindsay showed me the basics. And the back of my $3 Walmart cross stitch experiment is not as pretty as other people's cross stitch work, but look at the back.
No.
So
you look at the
whatever.
Front. Yeah.
And now like I want to do cross stitch is just fabric pixel art in my brain.
Yeah. And so that I was going to say, for me, it's funny because like for those who don't know, Chris is a proud, and has been since before The Office existed, a proud resident of Scranton, Pennsylvania. And about 1 million years ago, Chris is going to be upset I'm bringing this up. 1 million years ago, this guy that I'm podcasting with right now started and undertook to pixel art the entire city skyline of Scranton, of his home.
I've never finished.
And I don't even know if you finished the outline.
Downtown, and I didn't even get that far because I was like, "What have I done?" You know what it is? Like the
was that a like stomach too big for the bite kind of a thing? Like you totally
100%.
Okay.
Like I like usually my mantra is how to eat an elephant one bite at a time, and in that instance I said bring me the whole fucking thing. And I tried to be like too accurate in my depictions, and I'm like, oh, I wonder how tall this building is if every pixel is an inch. That's way too intricate.
But coming back, that it just means that he's been moving to cross stitch and physical pixel art. This guy's been in pixel art for long time.
I like the little details. What can I say?
And less details. There's only so much you can do. With pixel art.
And with my other art. Like when I was doing a lot of pop culture mashups, like the craziest thing for me was to try and decide color. And so I did an experiment with a couple of pieces where I just limited we're going pixel art, we're going nerd. I limited myself to the color choices that were available only within the color palette on a Nintendo.
Sure.
And the limitation of color like forced my hand into like, okay, how do I want these two things that butt up against each other to work with each other? Like I was doing vector art, but I was coloring it with a very limited color palette, and it yielded good results because I had to push the design in certain ways to make the colors work well. Like I did one in particular, and the theme of it was, Super Mario. Hey Mario, thank you, but the princess is in another castle. And so the theme of the one piece that I put together is Mario was looking for any castle that he could find, and he's standing on a cliff and he's looking at Dr. Wily's castle from Mega Man. And that was all done with the NES palette. And it was great because it pushed those color limitations, and I was able to pay tribute to a couple different things all at once. So,
and I can ask this because we're friends and we're far away. Do you want to revisit the Scranton skyline in a more palatable way, like maybe one bite at a time instead of the whole?
Maybe what I'll do is maybe I'll do the Scranton Electric City sign as a cross stitch instead of trying to do an entire isometric view of the downtown like an idiot.
This is, if nothing else, this just proves that before we made a movie without knowing anything, I've
done a lot of things without knowing anything,
or without thinking about the amount of
how to get to the end.
Yep. Yeah. That's
and listen, if I know one thing for now, AI is not coming for cross stitch. So
if I know one thing for now, it's that there is a bubble and it will burst.
I hope. I want AI to do my laundry, not write my press releases.
Well, that's true. That's true. But that's a use case. That's how do you want
hold it?
Well, it's a tool. And would you like your tool? Would you like your hammer to make a piece of art? That's my
no, not unless I'm doing reductive sculpture. Thank you.
I don't. Stop. Look, and
you take the block and you make it smaller.
He went to art school. He can say stuff like that.
Reductive versus additive.
Yeah, I know. Sculpting, remove the thing. I got it.
Yep. Chisel versus clay.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay.
All right. Yep.
It made sense to somebody listening.
Somebody out there smiled.
Went, oh my God.
I remember that from that time way back when.
That one elective class I had to take, and I thought I was going to be a potter.
Actually, that reminds me. You have moved into, I know, on stream, but also in your personal life, you've done some crafting, like making props and that kind of stuff, and it's not just cross stitch is real pixel art. You've done some 3D stuff, like in the flesh with. Whether it's cardboard or, plastics whatever.
It's been a while. And so my son and I are also experimenting with what are the limits right now of 3D printing?
Yep.
And for me, that's an interesting design space to get into. But
so
also,
do you want to get back to were you when you entered Keystone, right?
Yeah.
When you entered school, before I met you,
mm-hmm.
Were you a 2D artist or a 3D? Because obviously I only bring up the hobby part of it because that's a lot of 3D stuff versus what you and I have mainly worked with, which is all 2D graphics. So at the very beginning, was 3D an option? Was pottery?
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't want to turn this into an art history class, but pottery's always been a part of the fine arts, sculpting clay, making stuff from actual raw materials and things like that. I think was always sort of, it has always existed. It has not always been my forte. There's a couple of things that I've done that I've really liked. I like paper as a constructive medium. I did some stuff that in college that I still think back to, and I was like, that was really fun. I'd like to do that again. And it pushes the limits of what paper, or at least a Bristol board, could be. So that was always fun, but I've predominantly been a 2D artist, and whether that's photography or actually physically laying stuff out or turning the physical drawing into a digital drawing in some way, I've been more of a 2D artist. I think, where is it? Where'd he go? I'm searching my office furiously. There is a cool thing that I had done a couple years ago. So there was a barber shop that had opened, and they invited artists to paint on the back of barber's mirrors, the big round where they go, okay, look at the mirror, and then I'm going to hold this mirror and show you the back of your head to make sure everything looks good. One of those, right?
Yep.
And so like that was a cool project because my wife and I had done that, and we both took very different approaches. So hers was more of like a pinup on the back of the barber's mirror, so people could use it as a display piece when it wasn't being functional. I took a completely different tilt, and I'm not normally a painter. I don't paint well. Lindsay is a far better painter, always has been, but I actually painted on the glass of the mirror, and I did it upside down, and it's as if Spider-Man's got his mask pulled up and he's given himself a straight razor shave. And then I did polymer clay that I painted white, and I made the spider web around the edge of it. So it's like, it's kind of like this miniature, like it's this combination piece. So I don't know. I like playing around with things in a very atypical manner, probably surprising no one, especially you, but yeah, it's art for the fun of it. I mean, I don't ever expect to sell a piece. But whenever my Redbubble tells me I sold something, I'm like, what? How? Why? Who did that?
Well, but keeping your expectations down is important. Also, like,
here's to keeping expectations down.
But also maybe more importantly, doing it for keeping a hobby. You know, yeah, you made a couple bucks.
There's beauty in
keeping the hobby as a hobby, like even a storefront doesn't mean you've turned the hobby into a business. But keeping the hobby as a hobby is that's a whole separate podcast.
Oh, I mean, I would like to do more.
Yeah, but do you?
I mean,
to a point where you make it a business, like to a point where
I don't know, but like, so there's like, we're in this little weird snapshot in time, and I don't want to like date this too much, but as you and I are talking right now, and we can cut this later, as you and I are talking right now, it's primary election day in Pennsylvania, and without giving too much away, that could have implications on my full-time position.
Yeah.
So is this the point where I say screw it and I throw caution to the wind and I go full tilt into making stuff all the time, or the contract work that you and I do on the side, or whatever it might be? I don't know.
You know,
well, returning to other roots. I don't know.
Let's keep it in this pocket. A streamer Steph and I watch on a fairly regular basis now, had planned a month trip in Europe to coincide with one of the Twitch cons, and he's going to meet.
Oh, sure.
It's an American streamer, but he's going over there and he's going to meet all these people who he's been on servers with, but he's never met before, right? And that's a cool thing. But the day before,
me going to another state to meet Monkey.
Yes, and so the last day at work before he went on this trip, he learned he was no longer going to be employed.
Oh,
but it's also and he streamed it at an odd time. He told everybody what was going on, but at the same time, he's using that as a launching point for this is my moment. I'm going to go full tilt, and if I become a full-time content creator, then I do. And if I don't, well, I gave it a full shot. It's not I'm always giving it. And this is the thing. A lot of people, and this podcast is included in this, are willing to give things such and such a shake, right? Like, I'm willing to do this nights and weekends. So I'm not making this a full-time endeavor, right? It could be.
Yet.
Okay. Mr. I don't know what episode this will be, but I gave one ad away to Bill and his podcast folded 2 weeks later. So I feel like my track record with ads.
I'm not jinxing you.
I'm not jinxing you. Okay. Anyway, the point is, there's nothing wrong with keeping it as a side thing, but if you want to go full tilt, correct, you have to. Some people,
sometimes an opportunity presents itself,
and maybe him losing his job is that opportunity for him, because it means, all right, well, now you got to go, right? It's very different now when, to go back a smidge in the conversation, everything potentially could be a job. And when everything could be a job, you try, especially you and me, we try very hard not to make everything a job.
Well, right. And it's like, again, recalling earlier bits just of this conversation, like that was the one thing that they didn't teach you as an art major is how to monetize your shit.
They just tell you how to do, here's how to do art.
Well, they basically told you what you did was wrong. Let's start there. Let's get into the objective versus the subjective. We can't do this. For 3 seconds, I needed to get it out of my system. I'm sorry. But even now, like Lindsay, who, again, I love my wife's painting. Like her
and his wife. He also loves his wife.
Well, right. I mean, that's a part of the whole. But even still, like when she spends hours upon hours at these things, and then she has trouble attributing monetary value to it because she was like, well, it was my time. And so we've developed this formula where it's like, okay, what's the square inch?
Yep.
Okay, it's an 8x10. It's an $80 piece for the original. You know, like
you're trying things, and that's the other thing. You need to work. I know a business somewhat close to me that is not really making money, and when I talk to one of the owners, every time I talk to him, I'm like, I feel like every time you get a new contract, you need to raise the price until you are making I don't know what it is. It's just in general, the service industry, the arts, maybe anything that combines them is we're horrible.
In school, we were taught to undervalue ourselves.
Yeah. I think there's never a value, appropriate value attributed to that. But
right. And like, we also know, especially in the area that we're in, like there's not going to be a Wilson Fisk who shows up and buys a white canvas called Rabbit in a Snowstorm for $1 bajillion.
No, that's fiction. So, that is fiction.
That's double fiction.
That's double fiction. Yeah.
It's inception fiction.
Yes. But let's go to fact. And you are here because with the friendship episodes that we referenced, correct, I am running it backwards with the Proust Questionnaire. So, my friend Chris, what is your first question for me from what remains?
All right, from what remains. This one hit me in the philosophical gullet.
Okay.
And I feel like it needs to be asked in a very dramatic fashion.
Okay.
All right. So, if not yourself, who would you be?
I don't like this question. I actually, of all of the ones on this, I think this is the one I don't like the most because
I found the secret sauce.
So I think what I could say,
it's okay to like you.
No. I think what I would say, honest answer, brutal answer. If not myself right now, who would I be? I'd be pre-anxiety me. I'd just go back to before that stuff happened. I would still be me, but like pre-anxiety me that would like come up to see you on a moment. Like I didn't have to worry about when I ate or where I am or like, am I going to have a panic attack, travel times, nothing, I know even to me now, 90 minutes isn't much of a travel, but it's enough that I have to make a plan. Whereas pre-anxiety me, I'd come up and have lunch with you and come back. Like there were no, so I would probably just go back to being me. And part of it is I have a before and after. So it's like, I like the before. The before is pretty good. That's pretty nice. But I can't imagine any other thing. And I've said this a lot during these specific episodes. Okay? This might be a specific instance or another specific instance where last year it's a different answer. We started this off by saying I've gotten married and become a dad since our last recording, right?
Yeah.
This might be one of the few questions that would have been different before I was married. Not just it's changed since I've become a dad. Because I would not give up being me because then I wouldn't be married to Steph or have
correct
that kid, right? And
but there's a chunk of you that like if you could like surgically remove, like I'm picturing like your anxiety is like the dog's lead in the yard, and you can only get so far because of it.
Yeah, and
but
so
you're still the dog.
I'm
just
yeah. And and a lot of times you make the best of what you have, and that's fine. But I'm just saying, like, I think I'm probably just a former version of myself. I don't know the other stuff, because I also don't know that. I mean, there's a more scary thing to me than continuing with anxiety, and that is being myself with anxiety and then stepping into anyone else's shoes. And let's make it more specific. Most people pick someone famous. Sure. I wouldn't do well with that much attention, and like my anxiety is what it is now.
Is that anxious Jay talking, or is that just Jay?
I'm anxious now, and I don't have the paparazzi. No one's like, can you imagine what it would be like?
It's very much like Zoidberg. Look at me, look at me, look at me. Don't look at me.
Yes. Yeah. So I guess a previous version of myself, but now I get to say, Chris, if not yourself, who would you be?
Oh, I didn't think I had to answer them too. I'm not prepared for this. I would have chosen differently. Shit. I almost just said I should have listened to the other episodes. I don't think you've posted any of these yet.
I haven't. I haven't.
In a pickle. God damn it. All right, I'm also going to be a little introspective because I don't know who I would want to be. I would want to. I like who I am. I've cultivated a person that I think is kind of okay in most situations.
He's great for all seasons. You can wear him after Labor Day.
Like a warm winter jacket. I think, all right, so again, I'm going to be equally introspective, and I think I would like to be a me that finishes more of what I start.
Okay.
I think I have a lot of good ideas. Again, we talked about this. Like, I start at the end sometimes, and that's a bad place to start. I need to strategize.
He's saying that he starts from the end to the guy who he always accuses of being too far ahead. So like,
no. Here's the difference. Here's the difference. You have a plan for 4 weeks from now. I just see the thing.
Okay.
There's no fucking plan.
Okay. All right.
And sometimes that fluidity is helpful.
Well,
right?
I think that the documentary is in it could be example A, B, and C for that. You saw the end, and
I knew I had enough stuff to make a documentary. Making it was completely foreign to me until you and I said, let's make DVD chapters.
Yeah. And so
there's
that's kind of, it goes back to the pixel art of the skyline of Scranton.
Yeah.
It it's a lot of things. So I feel like what we've discovered from this particular question, and I
like me, but I want me to be better.
Well, I want me to be better too, friend.
No, that's I think the universal answer that we found.
No, I think more universal than that is we like who we are. And I don't look, this is probably
me a long time to be this okay at shit.
It's mind blowing to me that there will be people out there that this will be foreign to, but like,
right.
I wake up being me, and that's good.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'd like to creak a little bit less. But if I was going to go celebrity, probably Robert Downey Jr. I mean, look at this fucking face for crying out loud.
All right.
So, yeah.
Okay.
But
all right. Well, let's move on. Let's go. What's the next question?
Okay. I like this question because I feel like I know so much about you.
Okay.
but I don't think I've ever asked you just this straight up like third grade best friend sort of question.
Yeah.
The first half of which, the second half of which I can't see myself asking anybody, but probably my wife. So the second question I picked out of what remains
Yeah.
is your favorite color and flower. The flower one threw me, but I realized that I've never asked you what your favorite color is, and so that's why I chose this question.
Okay. So there are some caveats to this.
Oh my, he's got rules.
Yeah. No, I think flower is just a part of favorite color. I think there's some I don't really have
like, how old are these questions? Like, are we talking about like grinding up flour to make the pigment of
I'm thinking color? That, if you said red, your favorite, or you could say red, or you could say I like a rose. I think that's kind of what we're going. For me, honestly, I don't really have a favorite color. I have had it is changed. I know for a fact because when my mother became a bubby and immediately started going through all of my old childhood stuff. Sure. So when we were over at their house recently, I went through a book I wrote about my favorite things. So I think it was 7-year-old me. Let's go with 7-year-old me. I don't exactly know, but plus or minus a couple of years either way. 7-year-old me, favorite color, orange. Why? Because I like the Orioles. It's that simple. It's not because I like the color. It's because my favorite team wears that color. It has nothing to do, like, it's not like whatever. It's just that relation. That's fine. Right. And then you go to high school me, I would have said black, which arguably is all color, so it's not an answer. It's a horrible...
Or the absence of color, depending on if we're talking about light or pigment.
Yes. Yeah. So I think it was just... it doesn't matter. Like, I think one of those things... And now, since then, right, like I got married in Orioles jerseys. One of the first outfits Junior got was an Orioles thing. So, like, I could go back to orange. Mm-hmm. But I don't know that I care about color, excepting that you have ruined me and that I only care about color for how they bounce off each other. So I don't really care what color it is, but if you pair two colors together,
as it works with another one.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I guess the easy one would be probably orange, but I could easily say blue just because my wife would love that color in any capacity, and so she would be happy. I don't know.
All right, so let me ask a miniature follow-up question.
Yeah.
Is there a color that either you've been told you look the best in or that you feel you look the best in?
No.
Okay.
But then again, I wear a lot of blue for my wife. She doesn't seem to complain.
As you are right now.
Yeah.
Viewers at home.
Yeah, it's not. So. I don't know. I think I'd go with orange probably, but I mean, look, all of the branding for the business that you and I did a long time ago that still kind of exists, to the Palmer Files logo, to the Agent Palmer logo, they're black and white. If I had a favorite color, I would have found a way to squeeze them into those logos. They wouldn't be black and white. I think there's something, I don't know, I like about black and white and the simplicity of it. So, let's go with that, I guess. I like black and white equally, just because there's a lot, and I think they represent, text on the page. It's a lot of things. So that's what I'll go with, and then I'll just say I feel like you do have a favorite color.
I do, and interestingly enough, I thought you were gonna say orange because of the Orioles, but I was like, That's too easy of an answer for him, but I kind of love that I was accidentally right.
Yes.
So mine goes a little deeper, just because, like, you know, color theory, color psychology, like all that kind of shit, and yes, how colors bounce off of each other. I, there was a time where, like, and it was probably high school, so it was probably a very rudimentary experiment, but like you did have to look up like color meanings. And so, like, I remember, like, purple was royal, so like a lot of people were like, I like purple. And red was like passion or courage or whatever. But orange, I feel like, was like creative, and it was optimistic, and there was a little bit of a spirit of adventure.
How is orange my favorite color? Optimistic.
That independent. I'm looking at a color psychology chart right now.
Nobody's describing me as optimistic.
Yeah,
but you would describe me as independent. So
yes.
All right.
So, but I feel like orange was like it was like sunny, but it wasn't yellow sunny optimism. So I feel like I was like, yeah, orange. I think I could vibe with an orange. But so orange has been one for me. And it's funny though, because like depending on its use, like, I think orange is a terrible brand color.
No, it's just on a whole, because it doesn't go with much at all. And even I love the Orioles, but they have to be very careful not to be Halloween all the time.
Yeah. I mean,
and that's not just the Orioles. That's Orange's problem all of the time.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I would go with orange for sure. So,
and we both, and by the way, orange was a primary color at the college where we met, so it works out for us.
It was not part of my selection process, though.
I know, but I
didn't need to vibe with the college brand.
No, I'm just saying that it ties the three of us together. So, yeah. All right. So far, I think we're doing all right. So
I've not like chiseled into some like
I don't know
forgotten psyche or
I've spent no time once I got the questions and like looked through them once. I didn't want anything more because I wanted to be put on the spot. So I guess
you look relaxed, if it's any consolation.
Okay, that's good. I don't feel relaxed, but that's fine. I'm really good at faking it, man. So
it's the orange optimism.
All right. So what do you got for me for question 3?
Okay, so I like setting these up too. I don't know if I'm supposed to, but I'm enjoying explaining to you why I picked these questions.
Okay.
So a lot of people may know that I don't know if we've talked about this on a pod, but I edit the predominant portion of agentpalmer.com.
I've given you credit.
Posts.
I've talked about you in the past.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we've talked about it at length.
Okay. So, and Agent Palmer being the blog, agentpalmer.com, new posts every Thursday.
Correct.
Yeah. See, I just know when I have to have them edited by. And a couple years ago, I gave you a challenge. You were writing a lot about the books that you were reading, which I admire, but the blog was very quickly turning into like a book review.
Yes.
And so to stretch you a little bit, I said, okay, as your editor, I'm going to limit you to every other week. And you've done really good almost universally since that point. So points for that. So I read a lot of,
sorry,
my client wants points. What do I say about the points, Brendan? So I know a lot of what you read. So I feel like some of the questions in this, I kind of already had the answers to.
Yep.
But also I love visiting your home. And the few times I've been to your folks' home, you guys surround yourselves with a lot of art. So I wanted to ask, the question, the Proust question is your favorite painters and composers. I feel like I know composers, but I'm willing to be very wrong.
Okay. So composers is I think it's just makers of art. I'm just going to guess. I don't think it's just like painters and musicians. You know what I mean? So, but I have no problem saying that, like, you know, there are, you know, for our generation, you know, classical music isn't really a thing, but John Williams, of course, is, right? So that's kind of an obvious one as far as composers. I would also, I would also probably include Frank Zappa in that, who's done actual composing as well. It's not just, you know, Valley Girl, and guitar stuff. There are. But for artists, and it's interesting because, there's, I'm trying to think of his name, Irving Amen. There are some pieces in my living room, or not in my living room. There are some pieces in my dining room that, are Amens. They're on opposite walls. One is, in my house there are many religions, and in my house there are many children. Those are the two separate pieces on separate walls. And it's basically just like, the one is a bunch of buildings of different religious affiliations, and the other one is the children all dressed in the same kind of style, where there's, like, you know, all these different religious children. And Eamon's done a lot of other different things, but that style that is in my dining room, that's his style, right? So,
and are those? And I know the question is painters, but I feel like we're allowed to stretch a little bit and say, like, artists.
Yeah.
The first, and I'm cheating. I'm admittedly cheating because I would not be able to pick out his work.
Yeah.
But the first results that come up in a Google search, to me, they're block prints. They look like
they're like wood. I think they're legitimately called wood block.
Yeah, they might be wood block because I doubt like linoleum, the rubber linoleum prints were probably in vogue. You know, I mean, this guy was born in 1918. I'm absolutely cheating.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I imagine they were woodcuts, and they're blocky, but they do tell. They're very visually striking, and I think they do tell a good story. There's one that's up right now that appears to be of miners, and you know, it didn't take me very long to figure that out. Like, they're easy to read, they're easy to understand. They're, you know, and when you understand the process of a woodcut or even a lino cut, I think it's easy to appreciate them and the skill that goes into them.
And so that's one, and I get that from my parents. In fact, all those pieces came from their collection, or in the case of one of them, my dad found it somewhere else and went, "I think you'd like to have this in your house." So
that's cool. That's really cool.
And so that's one. There's a couple others that we obviously share, especially my father and I. And that would be Ralph Bakshi and the style from the movies, Wizards, Lord of the Rings, but also especially Bakshi related is Ian Miller and Mike Plug. And these are all fairly Wizards related, but because of my hobbies for collectible card games, I was able to reintroduce my father to art from those guys that he hadn't seen before, because both Mike Plug and Ian Miller, aside from doing stuff for Wizards, most famously Ian Miller did a lot of the backgrounds and Mike Plug did a lot of the still histories from Wizards. Mm-hmm. Those guys have both illustrated Magic the Gathering cards, which is one of the few minor collection things I've done of Magic, where I have a binder of every Mike Plug and Ian Miller card, or at least I did. I think there was one that got really expensive that was a new card that Ian Miller did that I'm like, I don't know if I have the justification for an $80 card just to complete this one collection, but maybe one day. So there's those kind of things too, but then there's also, to your point, there are other artists whose names, and I don't know if I should be upset at myself for this or not that I don't know. Okay. Like, so for example, in my parents' living room, there is a glass piece that is a square that it comes to a point. So I guess it would be more of a triangle, but the rounded part is tree bark, basically etched in the glass. And that is a piece that has been, oh my God, a part of, their living room probably for forever. Okay.
Yeah.
And that has been kind of amazing to see and just be a part of. Right. And then I go
there's a neat question there. I don't mean to cut you off, but like, there's a neat question. Like, I wonder, like, if you, do you appreciate that more because it's familiar? Do you appreciate it just because it's beautiful? There's a lot wrapped in that.
I think it's less that it's familiar and more that it's beautiful. Because it's not I see it all the time now, but if my dad's going to correct me when he hears this, but I don't remember where it was in our previous home.
Sure.
But I don't remember seeing it very often. I see it more now, but I liked it before. And then I think in that same vein, as far as moving to physical things, my dad and my mother have kind of gotten into pottery, as far as like my dad drinks out of he's retired now, but his coffee mug, when he's not using like a tumbler and going out and running errands, is pottery. Usually hand fired that he got somewhere. And so I can say and lift up the mug I have now that Brian Jones, who does the Mark Maron mugs, is one of my favorite artists, because I have 2 of his mugs that he hand fired, the Maron relationship is that Maron literally gifts these to his guests, but occasionally they become for sale. And I got 2 of them, 2 very different styles, but as pieces, these are in my kitchen displayed when I'm not drinking them. These are art pieces to be seen, not just used. And all of this is to say that we
forget that beautiful things can be both.
Right. I don't. Yeah. We have a set of I guess they were handmade bowls that Steph and I use for soup that are also on display because they're beautiful pieces. And so I guess all of this is to say that a lot of my art and tastes come from my parents, but I mean, there are other things, but those are the ones that kind of come to mind first, because those are the ones that, like, I am, very, I don't know, inspired by. I want them around me. And so I've put them where I could. So, for you, favorite artists, favorite composers, favorite creators of art. I mean, actually, I will say I forgot one.
Okay. You bastard.
Because I do like your art. I like your style. I love the way your mind works when we talk about the mashup, the pop problem. The pop culture mashups, which may be problem solving because you're trying to figure out how to get 50% of
each thing
into this thing to make it work, so you recognize both.
Things recognizable.
Yes. And so I've enjoyed kind of being around, because I get to see a lot more as a friend. You know what I mean? Like, I get to see more than most. Like, I get to see the stuff that you don't finish.
Well, and like we've done like silly things. Like, you've challenged me to do like logo critiques and things like that, and I pick out things that other people don't see. Like, I'll never forget when the Seattle Kraken logo came out, and you're like, you should do a logo critique of this new NHL team that came out. And I saw the fact that the 2 T's in Seattle were different, and you're like, I will never not see this again.
Well, it's like everything. I called you. I literally called you yesterday and said I did a design critique on something because I couldn't unsee it. I'm like, I literally told a coworker, you need to move that over 25 pixels.
Yeah.
Like, and that's because of you.
Tell people that.
But all right, everybody, move everything 25 pixels to the right.
Not everything, just the things that are 25 pixels to the left.
All right. So anyway, sorry.
Right.
Anyway, your favorite artists.
So I'll start with composers because I found this to be an interesting question, and I don't know that a lot of people would answer with these two guys specifically. And there are probably dozens of others, but for me, the guys who wrote the soundtrack to my childhood are Koji Kondo and Chip Tanaka, and they're in the traditional sense. A lot of people might not consider them composers, but these are the guys that wrote, like Koji Kondo wrote like the Legend of Zelda theme music. I think he may have also been responsible for Mario, but I don't want to attribute that to him because I'm not 100% certain.
Yep.
I could cheat, but I don't want to type over myself. And then Chip Tanaka is the guy that was behind Earthbound. And so for me, like, yes, like John Williams movie soundtrack, movie composition, yes, absolutely, also part of my childhood, and probably a more universal choice for a lot of people. But like, I played video games when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And like, even though like my first real Zelda was, for me, was Ocarina of Time. That was the first one that I really like sunk my teeth into and went, like to use the meme, like, this is going to be part of my personality from now on. That I don't know that Koji was fully responsible for that entire soundtrack, but like the themes and the notes and the cues, they all originate back from what he did with the original Legend of Zelda, which I remember playing at a neighbor's house very poorly because I did not know what I was doing or what I was supposed to be doing. Because that game literally just like thunked you on a map and said, figure it out. And Earthbound has such a stranglehold on my heart and my sensibilities that if I didn't say Chip Tanaka, it would be an insult both to me and to him. So, and like, I don't like everything that those guys do. I think that that's an important thing to talk about with artists. Like, you may not appreciate every single piece that they've put out, but like, if
I skipped an artist, by the way. I skipped an artist because, like, so there's I should say it because I want to get a rise out of you. But so one of the things, and I only bring it up because what you just said, you don't have to like everything. I have 3 monitors. That's my current office setup. And I have 150 background images that rotate every minute. So each screen changes every 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And I have, aside from the amens that are in my house, I have other amens that are part of the background. Yeah, like some stuff is like, minimalist art, like minimalist kind of like pop culture stuff, but there's still a lot of art. I have a lot of Ian Miller and Mike Ploog stuff that go through this rotation as well.
Mm-hmm.
But not everything.
Yeah.
And that's just that's an important piece. Also, I didn't want to say the other artist because I didn't want to get you all riled up, but I don't think it matters anymore. One of the other artists whose art I only have digitally because I couldn't afford to buy it otherwise, which is part of this rotation of my wallpapers, is Douglas Copeland.
I did not know that he dabbled in other areas.
Yeah, he's more than just an author that I read a lot of. That you're like, another Copeland, another Copeland.
I'm sure he's a very nice man. I'm just tired of reading your reviews of his work.
Well, which is funny because it's less than the Dayton reviews, which is a whole. I
don't know. Maybe I was okay with spy novels.
Okay, well, and World War II nonfiction.
There's a saccharine sweetness about writing about all things Canadian that maybe just doesn't speak to my.
Anyway, back to you.
Yes.
Okay, so artists.
Artists is hard because like. Especially with the pop culture mashups, like I'm drawing from so many sources, and a lot of my stuff, it just ends up being an homage. Like my brain is the epitome of Steal Like an Artist by I think it's Austin Kleon. And it's just like all of the things that we experience become a part of who we are and how we decide to express ourselves. And I love that. And it's also a total cheat code, because the more you expose yourself to the broader your impact and your influence and your inspiration can become. So like it's going to sound corny, but there's a reason for it. But Rodin, so the sculptor Rodin.
Okay.
And the reason I'm going to pick him in this instance, because again, I did not prepare my own answers for this. It's like, I'm going to ask Jay 3 questions and go about my day.
Yep.
And I'm not going to have to answer anything today. So the reason I like Rodin is I have a really lovely memory tied to Rodin. So when Lindsay and I we will do what we call pre-vacations. And so we will go to an area to explore it ourselves without our kids. And our kids are older, so like the method behind this has changed. But we will go and we will see if there are things that we can experience together as a family.
Yep.
And so when the kids were younger, it would be like, is there an amusement park close by? Is there a museum? Whatever. And so we through a comedy of errors, we ended up in the wrong Salem on a trip that she had won through a previous job. She was working for a hotel chain, and part of their Christmas party was like, oh, it's a random drawing, and if you get this, you can go here. So we got a 2-night stay in Salem, New Hampshire, which is not the Salem that everybody wants to go to. No offense to the fine folks of Salem, New Hampshire. And it was probably like half the distance between you and I now to Salem, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Which is the significantly bigger draw if you had to choose a Salem.
Yep.
And so we took a day out and we was like, all right, we're gonna leave this Salem and go to the other Salem, and we wander. And one of my favorite things about when we vacation, when it's just us, is we will wander. Like we will let things occur to us. And so we're wandering Salem, and we found at the time, I don't know if it's still there, a lovely, authentic, like French pastry shop. And then we stumbled upon, I could not, if you put a baseball bat to the back of my head, I could not tell you what museum we found, but we found a museum with a Rodin exhibit in it. And it was just this really beautiful memory of just like, oh, let's go. And like, so like, here's the Thinker.
Yeah.
Just in all of its gigantic magnificence. And like, I think the piece is The Gates of Hell, that Rodin did, this giant, relief sculpture. And so that's just a really cool memory that's tied to art for me.
Yep. I just, for some reason, I assume a lot of your art is tied to memories. But then again, so are mine. When I think about it, like all of my stories are like that. Those are the paintings I looked at in the house I grew up in. And those are the movies I watched when I grew, like they're all like, art is, of course, it's experiential in how you take it in, but it's also so related to what's going on at the time.
Or pieces of who we are. And I will say one other thing. I think if I had to go like favorite artist, and I think it's just because like when I need it, he really kicks me in the ass, and he's modern. Yeah. It's Aaron Draplin, from the Draplin Design Company. He's Portland, Oregon. I think he turned 50. If I'm recalling his Adobe Max presentation, I think he's 50 now, and he's just this big, burly, grizzly bear of a human being who understands the tenets of functional design probably better than anybody else in the market. He finds inspiration through thrifting, like all of the things that I find myself doing. Like the last major logo job I did was probably 2 years ago at this point, and it was for a friend who I'm still working for. And like I was initially drawing inspiration from like comic book titling and all this kind of stuff. And I have on the bookshelf that's no longer in frame.
Yep.
I call back. I have like logo books and things like that, and they're not the most up-to-date logo books. So like it gives me an opportunity to pull from inspirations that other people aren't pulling from.
Yeah.
And literally, like, I'll give the secret behind the sauce. I don't mind. The logo that I had designed for a friend, it was for a gym. It is a combination of inspiration between the New York Knicks and the boldness of the New York Knicks, and then just some of the extra like filigree or whatever the hell you want to call it of I think it was Brave United, and I believe it was a soccer club. And so like pulling all of those little things together and making something new out of them is, you know, part of that comes from Draplin, part of it just comes from that learned experience. But I think if I had to pick a guy that Dollars to Donuts, I would go back to every time, because I find that his willingness to experiment, even though he could very easily lock himself into a style, his willingness to experiment is probably the thing that inspires me to keep going, especially if I'm trying something new or working for like a new client. And so like I follow him on everything. If he ever heard this and like found me, I would probably cry. But like there's one guy who like, and he's a graphic designer. He's a logo designer. He does albums. He does, you know, he's made stamps, like the craziest pedigree that you could think of. This guy's done it. He's done patches for NASA. And it's all based off of functional, legible, enjoyable design. And for him, it's the love of making shit. And I know you've had a couple of folks out, like Young Khan comes to mind, like, go make the fucking thing.
Yeah.
And so those guys with that get up and go attitude, if I can feel that in your artwork, if you're Draplin or not, I'm in. Like, let's go. But also like the simplicity of guys like Keith Haring, who did a lot with blocky colors and simple shapes. And yeah, it's not always going to move me, but if I get it on the right day, it's going to work.
And so if not you, who would you be? You're still going to go
maybe
with
maybe Aaron Draplin. Okay. Well, listen, but also like I would be Iron Man. Like listen, it's probably the least appreciated of the Avengers movies, but in Age of Ultron, Iron Man has a line where he says, "Oh, I'm not the boss." Wait, hold on. I loved it so much. I actually made, and I could not find it anywhere. I made my own animated GIF out of it. It's actually, he's the boss. I just pay for everything and design everything and make everyone look cooler. And that speaks to my core so fucking hard that that is who I am. And it's funny because when I posted that, I mean, the date on that post was January of 2021. We were, let's play Capsule in Time again. We were still arguably in the thick of a pandemic.
Yep.
I was in the thick of a job that I was growing increasingly frustrated with. And that was a post out of spite. I could say that 4 years removed for it. That was a post I made out of spite. But it has continued to haunt my professional career because I do design everything. I do make everyone look cooler. And it has been made very clear to me that I am not the boss, despite my best efforts to do so either departmentally or organizationally. So yeah, there's still a little bit of, if not me, Iron Man, but maybe also Aaron Draplin.
What's your favorite color? What's your favorite food? First and second graders ask each other these questions as they get to know each other. They are central to early friendships. Does this mean that they aren't central to older friendships? Absolutely not. It just means that we should ask favorite food, favorite color, favorite artist, favorite author. We should keep going. Your friends, especially any you were lucky enough to make after the age of 30 or even just after 25, do you know any of their favorites? And more importantly, how do you know? Did you just come out and ask with the confidence of a newly minted first grade friendship, or did it come up in conversation? Or do you just think you know? Ask, ask, ask. No one has ever been offended that you asked what their favorite thing was. Also, remember, beautiful things can be art and useful. Thanks for listening to the Palmer Files episode 159. And now for the official business. The Palmer Files releases every 2 weeks on Tuesdays. If you're still listening, I encourage you to join the discussion. You can find all related ways to contact us in the show notes. Chris's website can be found at tryforcedad1984.com, and I still suggest you follow him on twitch.tv/tryforcedad1984 in case you ever get a chance to catch him on stream. He's cultivated a fun community. You'll be welcome. Bill Sweeney was an executive producer for this episode. The music for this episode was provided by Henno Heitur. Email and comments can be sent to this show at thepalmerfiles@gmail.com. And remember, your home for all things Agent Palmer is agentpalmer.com. All right, Chris. So this was a game at one point in the 70s. Can you imagine getting together? I mean, we only went through 3 questions, but can you imagine just sitting around talking these things with like any, like as a game?
Just like you and I and a couple other people in like a sunken in den with like ugly olive green carpeting. Like I was picturing,
and then a fluffy orange couch, right?
The fluffiest of orange couches.
Yes.
Because we both picked orange.
But like it's a game. Like, can you imagine?
This was hard. How was this a game?
It wasn't fun.
No, this was fun, but like also like this hits like into some core principles of who you are. Like it is admittedly a little uncomfortable to kind of shed the outer shell and show your belly a little bit. And I don't think that's what this was designed to do, but we're like, maybe it's because we're just not having regular conversations with people about like, hey, what's your favorite color? Like,
oh no, some of the things that are core to this questionnaire are things that you don't talk to people about after a certain point in life, which happens to coincide with the point in life where you ask someone, will you be my best friend? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so
yeah,
when you stop asking people, will you be my friend? And like right. and I bring it up because not only were these, you know, you and the other people who've done this were the friendship episodes.
Yeah.
But we became friends. None of us asked. There, you know what I mean? Like that's a 3rd grade thing.
No, it was a shared
friends.
Experience that formed a friendship.
Yep. So, yeah. But
it wasn't proximity only like grade school.
But you go back to grade school and that's the last time you just came out.
Asked somebody to be your friend.
And what's your favorite color? Or who's your favorite band? Like, just
I guess like in that respect, like I would not normally ask who your favorite composer was. I'd be like, oh, who you listen to these days? You know, like, and I do that all the time. Like, my buddy Matt down in Philly, like, you know, a ton of stuff rolls to Philly. I'm like, who you listen to these days? Who am I missing out on?
Yeah.
You know, and like he'll send me stuff and I'll send him stuff on Instagram. I'll be like, oh, check this shit out. Like, and he'll be like, oh yeah, I've been listening for 3 months. And I'm like, of course you are, because you're younger and cooler than me. But like, okay, let's continue.
Yeah. It's one of those things where even artists, I mean, I think a lot of it will change. I think a lot of these like I talk about how these questions change after getting married and after having a child. But I also think mood to mood, week to week, month to month, some of these are, as you said, core to who you are, but some of these, if you're having a good day, it's a very different answer than you're having a bad day for some of these questions.
Oh yeah, it's like what song on the radio is going to make me sing and which song on the radio is going to make me cry today. The daily experience of life can affect you a lot.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Jay, I think I have one final question for you for this episode. If you had the opportunity to sit down and ask anybody outside of the 4 people that you've asked to share this Proust questionnaire with, who do you think you would want to get some of these answers from?
And I'm just gonna immediately say family's out too, because I think it would be kind of fun.
I don't think family has to be out.
I mean, they're accessible. Like I could just ask my dad. I could ask my mom.
All right.
So I feel like they're accessible. I think that maybe this would be a thing where I go to the artists and I go to my influencers. I think that's where I go. I go to my influencers. So right now, easily we're talking about Bob Dylan. We're talking about Douglas Copeland. We're talking about Mark Maron. And those are three vastly different reasons, but those guys are all influencing me in a way.
Right.
And
so
so
as you were going, I was like half expecting, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I was expecting you to add like Chuck Klosterman.
Klosterman could easily be in the mix. It's just, I haven't read any, I'm overdue for reading something of his, but fair. And we talk about all the Copeland books and the Dayton books, but one of the things I want to do is I want to reread all the Klostermans so I can have an actual library on the blog that matches my physical library. I want to be able to say, I can recommend any Klosterman and here's a reason, right? And so, he goes on the list, but I'm probably forgetting a bunch of people that tomorrow I'll remember. And so, I think I would go that far. And you know what? If I'm being honest, any number of those guys, any one of those guys that I had an opportunity to, this questionnaire is a great place to start because I'm going to be starstruck. For me, this is the thing, right? For me, Dylan, Maron, Copeland, Klosterman, you could put Dayton on the list.
Yeah.
They're all, I know some people think but for me, in my sphere, those guys are all just as equally terrifying to be on the other side of the microphone for me. Because it's these are my influences. And while I'm aware you can meet your influences and I'm influenced by you a lot too. Right. I'm not just saying that, but
I know you're not blowing smoke, but I you know me,
but I think that the influences we have from afar, again, I talked about my parents being an influence, right? But the influences we have from afar, like for me, the Dylans and the Marons that are, they're out there. I'm sure there are ways that I could find a way to have that conversation, but it's immensely terrifying to me to think about. Because I don't,
it's the weight of starting that conversation. And
it's also the weight of, that's a different influence, right? That's an influence that's both conscious and subconscious because you've ingested their art, their material, their stories.
You think you know them.
And you've only ever done it one way, which is different than you and my parents, where the influence is back and forth and it's over time. Yeah. And it's two-way over much time. These are one-way conversation. I'm listening to Dylan. I've read some of his stuff too. I've listened to Maron. I've read some of his stuff. I've consumed Copeland's art and many of his books, and I've read a lot of Klosterman. But that's all been one way, right? They have no idea who I am.
Right. They are talking at you, not with you.
Yes. And so when it becomes when it changes from an at to a with, especially for people that influence us.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of, look, I I'm talking to a guy who might be the one person who knows how to hide it more than anyone. Because as a journalist, you've gotten to meet and talk to some of those musicians within certain circles that you were influenced by.
Sure.
But I know when you put on your journalism hat, you don't necessarily sound different, but you're a different person.
Well, yeah. I mean, and again, you know, we talk about how influence changes day to day and all that kind of stuff. Like who you need to be in that moment, some definitely impacts how you behave.
Well, yeah. And I think that's the other thing. If I'm anyone I said, or anybody I'll say tomorrow, or anybody I would have said yesterday, if I'm just going to have coffee with them off mic, it's a vastly different conversation.
Sure.
Then, hey, I get to sit down and record with one of them.
Right. Yeah. And I also found when I was in those situations, I would go through my normal rigmarole, and like at the end I would say, hey, I just want to, that's all the questions that I have, but I just want to say I've been a fan for a long time. This was a real pleasure and an honor. Thank you for taking the time out, you know? So, and that's those, that way you've not gushed and ruined the context. There's a professional, and then you get to take your little press cap off and you go, hey, this was real fucking cool.
So when are you going to make yourself a little press hat?
Maybe that's the next craft I learned. Maybe it's haberdashery.
I can't wait, because I know that your little tag that says press is going to be immaculate. And you're probably going to have one for each 100%. Season.
Excellent kerning. Yeah. Maybe I'll cross stitch that. We'll do a fabric. I don't know. My grandmother used to make plastic canvas, and that was really rigid. Maybe that's the way to go. Sustainable, washable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Environmentally friendly.
100%, except for the plastic part, which I'm trying to figure out. So
there's always tomorrow.
Amen.